We have a solution. We of Addicts Anonymous know thousands who were once hopeless. Many had reached a point where change no longer felt possible. Some had been in therapy for years. Others had tried religious practice, self-improvement, medication, detox, or discipline. Many could abstain for periods of time. A few had achieved worldly success or appeared to be managing from the outside. But underneath, the condition remained unchanged: obsession, disconnection, shame, fear, and spiritual isolation. For those who do not suffer from addiction in its chronic form, it's hard to explain what it's like to return again and again to something that is causing harm, knowing it will hurt and doing it anyway. It's hard to explain the cycle of promising never to return, only to find oneself back in it days, weeks, or sometimes hours later. Most people have some measure of control over their behavior. They can stop when they need to. They can take a loss, let something go, or walk away when the cost gets too high. But not all people can. There is a type of addict who cannot reliably stay stopped no matter how desperate they are, how much they know, or how deeply they love. Over time, this person becomes baffled by their own behavior. They may try to moderate or change their method of using. They may switch substances, diets, rituals, screens, or strategies. They may focus on productivity or abstinence as a form of control. But each new strategy eventually breaks down. The same feelings return. The same thought patterns reassert itself, and the same action, despite all intentions, follows. For this person, the object of addiction, whether a drug, a drink, a behavior, a person, or a feeling, is never the real problem. It is the solution. And when the solution is taken away, what remains is a kind of spiritual sickness, deep emotional dysregulation, restlessness, unmanageable fear, and an inability to live without some form of external modification. This condition persists even when the addict is not actively using. In older language, this state has been described as a spiritual malady. In clinical language, it might be called emotional dysregulation, trauma response, or existential distress. But by any name, its effect is the same. Without something to relieve it, life becomes intolerable. And with that relief comes loss, damage, and eventually despair. Addiction, as we understand it, is not primarily a behavior problem. It is a condition that affects the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. In the mind, there is an obsession. In the body, a compulsion and craving. And in the spirit, a chronic sense of emptiness and separation from others, from meaning, and from whatever power makes life feel worth living. Most of us tried to fix this condition on our own. We tried willpower, knowledge, discipline, punishment, reward. We tried to think our way out, feel our way out, or isolate until it passed. At times, we managed to gain some control, and for a while, this gave us hope. But the relief never lasted. The patterns would eventually return, and when they did, we often returned harder, more desperate, more afraid, and more ashamed than before. Some of us convinced ourselves that we weren't different, that others might be addicts, but we were simply misunderstood, undiagnosed, or unlucky. Others believed that we were uniquely broken. Some sought to be saved by another person. Some tried to bury ourselves in work, or service, or spiritual bypassing. But in the end, each of these paths brought us back to the same place, alone with the truth. That we could not stop, that we could not stay stopped, that we could not live with or without the object of our addiction, that we had lost control. This is the moment of powerlessness, and it is where our path begins. We came together not because of the specific ways we suffered, but because of the pattern that ran beneath it. In each story we heard, we saw the same root, the attempt to solve a spiritual crisis with a temporary fix, the attempt to live without surrender, and the attempt to recover without connection. In the early days of this fellowship, it became clear that no human power could relieve this condition, not for long. No therapy, however skilled, and no punishment, however severe, could restore us to sanity. No external force could fully rearrange the mind of an addict once the obsession returned. We needed something else. We needed a complete psychic change, a spiritual awakening, a shift so deep it rewired the very way we thought, felt, and lived. This experience was not taught, it was shared. It came through identification with others who had lived the same story and walked out the other side. It came through honesty, action, and willingness. And it came through repeated effort, a daily path, not a single moment. What we discovered is this: we have a solution. This solution is not an idea. It is a program of spiritual action, a way of living that treats addiction at its root. It is a path that begins in honesty, grows through surrender, and is sustained through service. And it works not because we believe in it, but because it works whether we believe in it or not. Those of us who followed this path found that our obsession was lifted. We no longer woke up in fear of what would do that day. The compulsive thoughts lost their power. Our emotional lives began to settle. We began to connect not just with each other, but with life itself. We became useful, not only in recovery, but in the world. We began to live with meaning, with purpose. We have seen this happen too many times to call it coincidence. It happens for people of every background, belief system, and identity. It happens regardless of what substance or behavior a person was addicted to. It happens in prisons, in treatment centers, in quiet living rooms, and in loud cities. It happens when the person is ready, not when they are punished enough or when they believe enough, but when they become willing enough to try something different. This book is an invitation to that process. It does not claim to have all the answers, but it does offer a way out for those who are suffering. We do not say that our solution is the only way. We are not here to argue. We are here to share what has worked clearly, honestly, and without apology. Because for those of us who have lived with addiction, the stakes are too high to keep quiet. We speak to the ones who have tried everything and still feel broken. We speak to the one who is tired of failing. We speak to the one who feels alone, ashamed, unworthy, or permanently damaged. We speak to the one who has not yet picked up, but knows that if nothing changes, they will. We speak to the one who no longer believes that change is possible. We speak because someone spoke to us. This fellowship is not built on belief. It is built on action. We do not offer advice, we offer direction, a set of principles and steps that, when practiced with honesty and willingness, produce a radical change in how a person experiences the world. These actions are not always easy. They require courage, truth, and humility, but they are not impossible, and they are not reserved for the few. The only requirement is a deep internal admission that, left to our own devices, we will return to the pattern that is killing us. Addiction is progressive. So is recovery. Each day we move in one direction or the other. We either feed the obsession or we practice the solution. We isolate or we connect. We lie or we tell the truth. We seek control or we surrender. We go backward or we grow. This book contains the experience of many who found a way to grow. It contains the path we followed, the mistakes we made, the spiritual principles that became the foundation of our recovery. It is not meant to be read passively. It is meant to be used, taken line by line, step by step, with others, because addiction thrives in silence and recovery grows in connection. If you are reading this and you recognize yourself in these pages, we welcome you. It does not matter what you used. It does not matter how long you have suffered, what you call yourself, or whether you believe you can recover. What matters is that you are willing to begin. We have a solution. It worked for us. It can work for you. And we are here when you're ready.